The Tao of Self-Confidence, Episode 92. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of successful women finding their inner journey to self-confidence 5 days a week. Subscribe to our newsletter by visiting thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Well, hello, friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap-Chan, and today I have a phenomenal woman on today. She is a business coach, and she's here to share her story on self-confidence. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Yoon Cannon. Yoon, how are you doing today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on your show, Sheena. So my name is Yoon Cannon, and I'm based outside Philadelphia. So I'm a business coach. I help solo and small business owners to create systems that help you really attract a steady flow of new clients. And along with that really comes things like overwhelm, conquering the overwhelm, and, being able to have victory over sometimes a lack of self-confidence. So you can read more about me at my website. It's paramountbusinesscoach.com. But I came into it, from an entrepreneur background. So I had started and sold 3 other businesses over the past 20 some years, and so that's how I got into becoming a business coach.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Yoon, what's your cultural background?
Yeah, I was born in South Korea, and I immigrated to the United States when I was 4, with my immediate family, my parents, my 2 brothers. And it's interesting because I'm married to an Irish man, and so our kids' favorite dish today, we've got 3 kids, and one of their favorite dishes is a Korean Irish soup that we've sort of made up.
Awesome. That sounds interesting. So is it like a tofu soup with an Irish twist to it?
No, it started out as Irish soup, and I threw kimchi in it, So it's just potatoes and ground turkey and onions and kale. So it's a very Irish soup, but it just didn't have the spice that I needed, So I just threw kimchi in it, and the kids started calling it, it's Korean Irish soup.
That's awesome. I'm going to have to try that sometime. And,
it's good.
And Yoon, what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
One of my favorite quotes, I wish I knew who said it, but I believe it's anonymous. The quote is, it's not what you think you are that's holding you back. It's what you think you're not. So I thought that was a really apropos for self-confidence.
I love that, right? Because we're always focusing on what we're not, and we forget to realize, we have so many talents and skills that we can contribute to the world and create a life where we can be free from, all the judgment. So that's a really great quote that you mentioned. And, in your own words, how would you define self-confidence?
Well, the process, I would define it really with the process that I personally use to help my clients be able to increase their self-confidence in their business. And it's really the 4 P's to, generating powerful self-confidence. And so the first P is preparation, then it's practice. The third P is positive feedback. And the 4th P is proper perspective. And I think when you have all those 4 P's lined up, that's what contributes to having a powerful self-confidence in your life. So I would define it by my process.
I love that 4 P's that you mentioned. It's a great little checklist to go by. So it's like something you can check off. You prepared, you're positive, you're powerful. I forgot the 4th one, so I apologize.
Yeah, perspective.
Perspective.
Yeah, because, a lot of times I think we walk around, all of us, I think can easily fall into different seasons where we might lose our self-confidence or just have days when we're not feeling as self-confident. And, whatever the project is, whether it's a work-related project or, a personal goal that we're trying to pursue, I think when you put it in against that grain of being able to grade yourself on those 4 areas, it's the quickest way to really identify, all right, what am I missing in this area? Why do I feel so inadequate, when it comes to X, Y, and Z? And a lot of times it's just one of those four things that you're missing. And so when you identify what it is, then you can go, oh my gosh, I could do that. I'm just missing the practice part, So I think when you accept, hey, you get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because knowing that, of course, you're going to be uncomfortable. If you just learned how to do a new skill, you're not going to be great at it. And you start lowering your expectations on yourself, and you give yourself permission to say, you know what, it's okay to be uncomfortable for a while, until I know I'm going to get more and more confident the more practice I get. So any one of those P's, it will become evident just by looking at it.
I love it. And it's so cool that just one small tweak can make a huge difference. So thanks for sharing that. And, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
Well, I definitely remember a lot of days where, I think I just used to stress myself out a lot. I would remember feeling a constant inner turmoil, and that turmoil, it just can produce fear. It can lead to self-doubt, thinking, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough to do that, or accomplish this or that. And I think it boils down to the imposter syndrome, that a lot of people suffer with, where if any of the listeners are, I just want to say you're not the only one. We all have been there at one point in our lives. And so that's what I remember feeling before, discovering some of these keys to helping to boost and build that self-confidence. So I'm so glad, I don't have to deal with all that self-doubt and fear as much as I remember having to struggle with before.
I was great at that too, just being able to just stress myself out on the smallest things, and thinking, what was I thinking, right? And then we dig ourselves into this hole, and we tend to just lose ourselves in that process. So I'm glad you were able to get out of that. And what was that aha moment when you realized, you can be, whoever you wanted to be? You just go out there and just do your thing, and then your self-confidence start to increase.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm sure I have had many aha moments, but the first thing that comes to mind, I remember, when I first started my business coaching practice in 2008, this was the height of the recession. And I got to tell you, when I started it, I didn't expect that my self-confidence was going to quickly get so shattered, So I think I went into it thinking, well, I have business experience, and I've started 3 other businesses. This should be easy. And it was just a totally different business. So I think I finally had the aha that I was prescribing the benefits of business coaching to everybody else, but myself at the time, So when I started, I had this mindset of, you know what I'm doing? I started 3 other businesses. Come on, just rinse and repeat, But this was the first online business that I started, and it is different. So when I started really feeling like my self-confidence was shaken, and I started to doubt, oh, maybe I can't do this, or maybe I'm not cut out to have this online business. When I started recognizing that self-doubt, I looked at my own process and looked at the 4 Ps and thought, what am I missing? So when I first started my coaching practice, I realized I am missing that feedback. I need to have someone else give me positive feedback, or, even constructive feedback, as well as really giving me some proper perspective as to how I was going about things. And so I think that really helped to equip me, and that preparation process also held me accountable, to actually practice some new skills that I didn't need when I had my offline businesses. And so that I saw quickly built my self-confidence. It really makes you go, you know what? I can do this. Whereas before, when I didn't have the right skills in place, or I didn't get the right training that I needed, and I just thought I was just going to whip this out, on pure intuition and logic, right? And like I said, it didn't really go off with a bang there. So I wasn't getting the results and the traction right away in the beginning. And so that's really the critical aha, was just me realizing, oh my gosh, I'm not going through these 4 Ps. I've fallen away from it. And so that was huge, to go ahead and take that step and just invest in yourself.
I love it. Sometimes it's just these simple little acts that we do daily is what really can bring our self-confidence up. Like you said, doing those 4 Ps. When you lost sight of it, you were like, what's wrong with me? What's going on? Why aren't I succeeding as I used to? And then when you went back to it, it's like you're starting to get your confidence back again because you're just following these simple steps. So, I really like what you mentioned as your aha moment. And, after that, what's your life like now?
Oh, well, definitely a lot more. It's the energy, it's energy, it's excitement, it's momentum, it's waking up feeling like, you can conquer and you're excited to be able to tackle your goals and achieve them. I think that's a big, my husband likes to call it a productivity buzz. It's that when you feel like you went after a goal and you achieved it, and each day you're building out, different key goals to achieve, and it really truly does put you on that momentum of doing that. So I'd say, I think for some of the listeners, I think if your expectation is that you're going to live 100% in total self-confidence, the one thing I want to say about that is I don't think anyone lives 100% of every day in total self-confidence. So I think the other discovery for me is that I get more consistent with it, and then I'm also able to identify, what might trigger me feeling less confident that day about whatever it is, So it could even be a parenting thing. I have 3 kids, and I don't know if I get in a conversation with somebody who makes a remark that, oh, my child is, misbehaving, or their kid would never do that, or some version of little comments like that, right? And I think that easily can trigger a lot of moms to say, oh gosh, I'm losing my confidence as my ability to raise really, well-behaved kids. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's something that we live in 100%, but I think it's something that when you keep looking at those 4 Ps, every time you feel a little less self-confident, you can get yourself right back on track. So in a personal sense, as in the parent example, if I feel like I, totally lost any influence or impact on one of my kids, maybe, it might be, all right, maybe I need to, they're going into a different phase now. Like my 2 older ones are teenagers. So I remember getting some preparation help, like reading a book on how to raise preschoolers, but that's not going to help me now that they're teenagers. So maybe I need to read a book on, communicating with teenagers. So, I think that's one of the things how you might apply those 4 Ps. So preparation, as my kids are getting prepared to, graduate high school, then I also need to prepare how to be the mom that they need in that stage in their life. So, that was kind of a long-winded answer, but I want to give you a couple different examples for folks to apply in, whether it's your work life or your personal life.
Awesome. I loved all the answers. It's great to have these examples that you shared. And, to the woman who's listening to your episode, she's on her own journey to self-confidence as well. Other than your 4 Ps, what would be another tip that you'd want to give to the listener?
I think, the big thing is, if you think about where we lose our self-confidence, it's usually tied to your dream, and what it is that you wanted to achieve or to have in your life or to be the person that you wanted to be. And so I think the one advice would be start with getting really clear, very specific about what that dream looks like for you, and that's really the big thing. So I know when I've had these conversations with some of the clients I work with, and they tell me they are losing self-confidence that they can achieve their dream or achieve the big goal. A lot of times, I might ask them, well, how do you know if you got there or not? How do you know if you hit it or not? Whether it's I want to be a better parent, or whether it's I want to be healthier, or whether it's I want to be more assertive. One might think that that's a specific goal. I want to be more assertive. But then you have to ask yourself, well, how do you know? Like, what would indicate that you've achieved the goal or not? So that really makes you define what you would have to hit to have succeeded. And I think when you define that, you can see that you've succeeded, and that's truly where you can now feel, wow, I can see my confidence is increasing because I did those things. I defined I'm going to become a more assertive person by, okay, when I'm in this recurring scenario, instead of saying this, I'm going to say that. I'm going to actually speak my mind and tell someone, here's what I'd rather do instead. Maybe that's an example, right? So that would be the first thing, is really get specific what your dream is, what your dream goals are. And I'd say write down a list of all your strengths. I think that really helps confidence. I think people just don't give yourself enough credit for how God made you. So you take for granted the talents and the gifts that come easily to you, that it doesn't come so easily to other people. So you might have the gift of hospitality, and somebody else is a terrible, people person, or they just have no EQ. about people's feelings or making people feel at ease. So I think that's a huge step, a huge advice to helping you boost your self-confidence is write down your strengths, your talents, your skills, your gifts, and go a step further. And I would just ask other people that are in your life, ask 5 people, pick 5 people in your life and ask them to tell you what they see as your strength and your talent, your skills and your gifts. And you might be surprised. The things that people tell you. And I think that's huge. And can I just add one more thing, Sheena?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. I feel like I'm talking on and on, right? But I'd say the other thing, when you ask me what advice would I give to give women on their journey, right? It would be not only that I just said, but I think it's also important to know what shakes our self-confidence. So I think it's important to identify, what is 1 or 2 negative thought that comes into your head that just really throws you off. I like to call them gremlins. It's those gremlins that you actually just decide to buy into, and you're kind of in this negative pattern of buying into it. So I think it's important to write down what that is. So that way you could actually also write down a rebuttal, to those negative beliefs or those negative thoughts that might pop in your head because, we all have them. We all have areas that we're a little more insecure about, and I think it's important to address it head on.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing all those tips. And I like the last one that you mentioned, knowing what shakes your confidence and taking out those gremlins. That's really that was a big one for me. So thanks for sharing that. And Yoon, if our listeners want to get to know a little bit more about you and your services, is there any websites or social media profiles we can connect with?
Oh, absolutely. I'd say come visit my main website. It's ParamountBusinessCoach.com. And my website is really all about helping folks with being able to build and grow a business. So if any listener has ever been thinking about needing help in that area, I think definitely, getting the training and being equipped with that kind of coaching and perspective really helps to increase your confidence and helps to see results.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Yoon, just head on over to thetaoofselfconfidence.com and search for Yoon's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else we talked about. And I just want to thank Yoon for taking the time for sharing her story, sharing her tips on self-confidence. So thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having me, Sheena.
It was an honor to have you. And listeners, be on the lookout for another amazing episode of another woman's amazing journey to self-confidence. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to another amazing episode of The Tao of Self-Confidence. Check out our resources to help you jumpstart your inner journey to self-confidence by visiting thetaoofselfconfidence.com.